I am Mr. Uti George. I hereby present a paper written by Professor Junyoung Song of Murray State University titled Emotions and Language Teacher Identity, Conflict, Vulnerabilities, and Transformation. Indeed, the world has become a global village, and there are specific impacts on different institutions and cultures, and especially on the language teacher in South Korea. In this research, Professor Song investigates the experience of studying abroad students, ESA, and its ripple effect on Korean language teachers, specifically how it triggered anxiety and self-identity crisis. The dual impact had effects that are both positive and negative, manifest in teachers' pedagogical style, professionalism, and self-transformation. Those who had the negative experience of it, called negative engagers, were traumatized by the experience because of the consistent self-reflection they had. Dr. Song collected the data from 5 Korean teachers for the purpose of analysis and assessment. Take Sumo, for instance. She has 30 years experience as a teacher. When that occurred, the impact occurred, she fell from the grace of happiness to the grasp of distress and shame. What that proved was that teacher's identity is dynamic, complex, and sometimes not rational. There is such a cultural reality and influence to teachers' pedagogical style. Emotions play a great role in the construction of teachers' identity, even though there are denials punctuated here and there. Such denials are as a result of societal expectations. There's a certain way teachers should feel, there's a way they should not feel, there's expected emotion, and there's experienced emotion. So it's a duality in the manner that teachers will have to express their emotions. So a lot of times the emotions are suppressed and repressed, leading to some kind of crisis. Therefore, there is what is called legitimate and illegitimate emotions. There is professional and non-professional emotions. And of course, teachers will have to make a choice at every point in time of their lives. They have to make a choice of being professional and being legitimate. This whole teachers' vulnerability. But it still depends on teachers' attitudes and willingness to embrace the vulnerability, because it's a choice that a teacher must make, and it depends on teachers' beliefs, identity, and perception of competence. One fundamental choice, according to the researcher Benesh, 2012, is that teachers should embrace open vulnerability as opposed to protective vulnerability. Because protective vulnerability breeds anxiety, fear of adventurism, zero pedagogical value, and zero self-transformation. On the other hand, open vulnerability breeds shame at the short run, but builds relationship at the long run, because it develops and supports emotional connection with the students and leads to pedagogical reform and transformation, as well as individual transformation. A little background info on this whole experience. In the 1990s, the Korean government adopted English as an official language and hired a whole lot of teachers, native teachers from abroad. And because of that, the traditional Korean teacher became devalued and his labor de-emphasized. Added to that was the fact that well-to-do Korean parents sent their children abroad, who went and returned with more sophisticated language skills and more sophisticated than the teachers themselves that were teaching them. The teachers started feeling that their secret story of being superior has started crumbling, and this was a great threat on the traditional Korean English teacher. Like I said earlier, Dr. Song obtained this data from 14 study abroad students and 5 Korean English teachers. And the result was that the Korean teachers exhibited a lot of pressure and anxiety because the proficiency and fluency of the study abroad students was higher than theirs. And so the traditional teachers started feeling inferior. To quote their expressions and reactions, one says, "I feel that I'm inferior." Another says, "I feel ashamed." And another says, "I feel anxious." The returnees themselves made things worse by their attitude of snobbishness. But there's a panacea to that, which is that if teachers will only exhibit open vulnerability, then the issue will have been solved. But that's a panacea, and the status of acting that they omniscient will be reduced, and they'll begin to think more humbly of themselves and embrace these study abroad students. And when that happens, there will be systemic transformation. One teacher who applied that strategy, for instance, said to his students, "I make mistakes. My pronunciation may not be as good as yours. Okay, we're all practicing English. English is a foreign language. And we're all in this space to improve our communication. A particular teacher by name Inju demonstrated how effective open vulnerability was and was able to connect with the returnee students from overseas, and the result was that space was transformed and everyone was happy. Final thoughts: let teachers be humble and let teachers invest on continuous self-improvement of their skills. And when that happens, teachers would take leadership of the socio-cultural reconstruction of their classroom that is seemingly a microcosm of a macrocosmic society. Discussion point: how does the dynamic of emotion reproduce discourse in your culture? Thank you very much for listening. The end.